Alrighty, well, welcome. Take home edition. Fight Back 2020. It is July 7th, 2020, in the year of our Lord. Heading home. And I am tired. Long day for Will today. But I'll tell you what. You know, there's a lot that one can be concerned with happening in the world today, happening in our country. So it doesn't take a lot for me to be encouraged. You guys will guess that I'm a fairly gregarious person. And, but what I don't do in my workplace, generally speaking, I don't bring up politics, especially where I work. I work around a lot of younger people who are a little bit more to the left than I am, than the old man is normally. But what I'm telling you, and I don't bring up politics around our guests, where I work, but I have students, and I'm getting some younger coworkers who are bringing up stuff around me, asking me questions. Now, my rule has been, I won't bring it up, but if you ask me a question, you better damn sure be ready for the answer. If you engage me in conversation about this or that, whether it's COVID, whether it's Trump, whether it's Obama, whatever it is, you better be ready for what I got to say. Because I'm not going to at that point, you have opened the door. You have opened the door. I didn't bring it up. You did. So you may not like my answer. You may not like my train of thought. You may not like anything I have to say after that point. But I'm going to remind you, I wasn't bothering you. You're the one that came to me with it. And that means that I won't hop into conversations that I'm not a part of to make a point. I won't do that. I think that's rude. But if you're with me one-on-one and you ask me, so what do you think about Trump? You think that we should get rid of Trump? I'm going to tell you that you're out of your damn mind. From my perspective, that if you think we should get rid of Trump, you're out of your damn mind. If you ask me, well, what do you think about Trump's response to COVID-19? And I said, you know what? It was as good as it could be under the circumstances. Trump's biggest mistake was listening to anything that came out of the World Health Organization. He learned that, and that's why he severed ties. And then I'll go through the timeline with you about how China decided to not disclose pertinent information about COVID-19, and how the World Health Organization basically just went along with it. While people in China were dying and caused so many deaths around the world. So, and you're going to blame that on Trump? Well, then that's a mighty gymnastic leap. But I guess I can't stop you. Again. But what I'm finding out is that there are a lot of younger people who are not buying all the hype. They're not buying all the hype about BLM, Black Lives Matter, especially the organization. They're not buying all the hype about COVID-19 and this pandemic and the response. There are people who aren't buying it. And I said this last night, I think, on my way home, mainstream media and social media want to shame people who don't want to wear masks as being selfish. Or who think social distancing and wearing masks and face shields and all this stuff is, they think that, they think it's overdone, overblown, they want to characterize these people, like myself, as selfish and ignorant and science deniers and on and on and on, all sorts of negatives. When the fact is that we just don't believe you. None of us, nobody wants anybody to die unnecessarily. But these people, by their own numbers, by their own miscalculations, by their own manipulations, have been found out. And so now we don't believe you. And I'm finding more, and the encouraging thing is I'm finding more and more young people who are coming to that conclusion pretty much by themselves. And it happened in Florida, and I can tell you what happened in Florida. It happened in Florida due to the latest spike in COVID-19 cases, where there was the opening of bars and clubs and the like, and people went back to their lives. And then, and as that was happening, there were spikes already happening, and then there were the protest march of 10,000 people happening, and the looting and the rioting, and here in Hillsborough County anyway, some of these young people said, wait a minute, you're blaming this on me? What about that over there? And that started some of them thinking. Maybe the reaction to this is capricious. At the least, capricious. Huh. And so people are starting to do a little investigative work on their own and actually starting to pay attention to how viruses are spread, how viruses have happened in this country, how pandemics basically happen every year. The flu, the seasonal flu, is a pandemic. Happens every year. Every year. And so now you're looking at people who are understanding that even by the numbers given out by CDC or John Hopkins or whomever, that 99% of people who have been diagnosed with COVID-19 are still alive. They're still alive. They're able to figure out on their own that this call for ventilators was political. And you're asking, well, that's what you're asking, how could you say that? Well, because it is my thought that Governor Cuomo never thought in a million years that Trump would be able to pull off getting enough ventilators to New York. He never thought in a million years that Trump would be able to get it going to the Javits Center and make a whole and turn that place into a hospital with a whole bunch of beds, not for COVID patients, but for regular patients to get them out of the hospital, so the hospitals wouldn't be overrun. We saw, what's her name, Rachel Maddow talk about there's no way that a Navy hospital ship would be steaming into New York Harbor in a couple of days. That at most it would take a couple of months. And 3 days later, the USS Hope was steaming into New York Harbor with high-tech equipment waiting to take patients. And we're finding out, and many young people are finding out that even with all of that, they weren't used. Not nearly to the degree that Cuomo and the like and de Blasio were screaming about they needed. 40,000 ventilators. And then what did we find out? We find out that putting people on ventilators was probably killing them. Putting on some of these folks on ventilators was probably killing. That's what was killing them. Oh, yeah. Not everybody who has pneumonia gets put on a ventilator. That was probably making them weaker. That's what we found. That's what we found out. Well, we found out that when Trump mentioned hydroxychloroquine, Dr. Fauci sort of sucked his tongue and shook his head. You know, Dr. Birx was a little less condescending. But Trump says, may work. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll go on to something else. About Trump's excuse me, approach to hydroxychloroquine was pretty measured. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, we'll do something else. Media comes out pretending that Trump is trying to sell hydroxychloroquine to people, and he's not. He just learned about it, mentioned it, and then we learned that hydroxychloroquine was actually working and actually saving lives. That's what we learned. But media kept that drumbeat going that this was Trump's drug and it didn't work. And young people are finding out this information. They may not have known 3 months ago or 4 months ago, but they know now. And they're not buying it. Now, I doubt the people that I talk to will turn into ardent MAGA Trump supporters. But they're starting to do something that the left hates to have happen. People are asking questions and demanding answers. And F Trump is not an answer. Trump's a racist is not an answer to some of these questions. Why did the media go so hard against Trump on hydroxychloroquine? When now again, more studies are coming out that it is a wonderful therapeutic. And young people are finding these things out. Young people are asking the questions, wait a minute, how is it even possible that me going to a bar is stupid and selfish and spreading COVID-19 and killing grandma in a group of 50, 70 people in a bar, and groups of 10,000 protesters aren't doing the same thing? Because that was the narrative. Protests aren't causing a spread. Now, the article I read was absolutely incredible, because the idea in the article was it's because these people were causing so much havoc. Others were staying home, and that's why these protests might have actually, think about this, actually slowed the spread of COVID-19. Incredible, isn't it? Nobody's buying it. Like I said, these people aren't stupid or selfish. No one's buying your arguments, because your arguments and this discussion is ridiculous and foolish. That's what's happening. Now and that really is the exciting part. The exciting part is that people are asking questions. Young people are asking questions. So I'm encouraged. I'm going to tell you what, I am encouraged. Now, there's lots of work to do. I ain't going to tell you there's not work to do. Because there's lots of work to do. We're a long way from where we need to be. As a conservative, quote, movement, end quote, we're a long way from where we need to be. We got way too many distractions. We are concerned with way too many things that don't matter. I posted on my Facebook page on July 4th that a picture of the American flag, Old Glory, and my comment was and still is, this is the only flag that conservatives / Republicans need to be defending. This idea that we need to be involved in this distraction of protecting the Virginia Confederate battle flag is foolish. Who cares? They were the Democrat rebels. Why are we busy trying to defend their flag? Why suddenly did we take up that cause? I gotta give a hat tip to Alfonso Rachel to hipping me with that bit of realization. Before I didn't care, but now, after listening to Zoe, I'm irritated every time I hear conservatives or Republicans defending the Confederate flag as a part of history. Why are we defending that? The only flag that we need to defend is Old Glory. That's it. That's the country in which I live in. Republicans defending this Democrat symbol of war and rebellion seems dumb. And what happens is, and I know some of you just flipped out, but what happens is it gets Republicans and conservatives into these what I call pig wrestling events. What's pig wrestling? Well, pig wrestling is something where you wrestle with a pig, you get dirty, and the pig likes it. You're never going to win. You're never going to win. So it's better not to get involved in the first place. It's better not to get involved. So again, I'm excited that young people that I've gotten to talk to in the past couple of days are really starting to understand a little bit. They're starting to ask more questions. They ask me questions about the media. Is the media corrupt? Is the media really the enemy of the people? Well, I believe it is, and I give them examples. And then they go, yeah, I kind of thought that too. I'm giving a lot of them confirmation on things they've already considered. The cool thing is that if you listen to mainstream media, you would never think that young people are considering alternatives. Is Trump one of their alternatives? I don't know. I think for a lot of people, probably not. But a lot of them are going to be in a position where they are not going to blindly be supporting Democrats anymore. Or liberals anymore, for sure. Progressives, for sure. They've heard, most of them are either in university now or fresh out of university, and they've heard their professors for years spout this stuff. And what they're finding out is that their professors are spouting out narratives, especially the white kids, that talk bad about them, denigrate them and their parents and their heritage and their culture. Like somehow they're the problem. Somehow, because I grew up in a house with both of my parents and they were able to afford college for me, I'm the problem. And they're asking, how is that? How am I the problem? Well, because you're privileged. Well, they had to get grades and get into university like everybody else, so they don't feel privileged. So they're tired of being called racist. They're tired of being called the problem. They're tired of it. So this is an interesting thing that's happening. I'm really excited about it. That this is an interesting thing that's starting to take place. Again, we are a long way away from where we need to be for sure. But I think a lot of good things are happening. There's a lot of potential here. Let's not get distracted. Let's stay focused. All right. Traffic here they're working on the road here. I took the interstate. I should not have taken the interstate. It's taking actually more time now than it would have if I had taken the surface roads, but here I am. I'm stuck, which is good for you. I don't know if I've spoken specifically about Black Lives Matter, but I'm going to do that now. Black Lives Matter, the statement, seems innocuous enough, doesn't it? It seems ridiculous to even say anything contrary to it. Well, Black Lives Matter. Well, yeah. Well, all lives matter. Well, Black Lives Matter. And people have used this weird analogy. If you had, if you had 3 houses, and the fire department came and they were putting out a fire at one of the houses, and then you said, well, wait a minute, all houses matter. Yeah, but right now, this one's on fire. And a lot of people on the left took that as an analogy that made them comfortable, that made sense to them. Now, there's a couple of problems with that. And the main problem is this. The problem is who set the house on fire? Frankly, I don't think that people should risk their lives if somebody set their own damn house on fire. And the house fire that you're talking about, Democrats set the damn house on fire. They started years ago. Now we can go back in recent history, and for me this is recent history because I'm old. Was the Johnson's War on the Poor and the Not So Great Society that basically destroyed the family, and these urban planners that put black people who were homeowners at one point or another in these high-rise reservations, because that's what they were. And these communities, these pre-planned communities that we ended up calling the PJs, right? They were the PJs are nothing more than high-rise reservations. That's it. Where a lot of black people were taken out of the other parts of the community and forced to live here. How were they forced? They were forced by gentrification that's been going on for years. They were forced by the tax codes. They were forced by rising property values that increase the taxes on their property. Aggressive overly aggressive code enforcement. So now you got a majority of black people in some of these urban centers living in the PJs, in these high-rise reservations. And you could live there for near free if there was no working people or a working husband or man in the household. If you're a white supremacist trying to destroy the black community, you start off with, at that point, which was the part that was the strongest component of the black community, the family, and you would try your best to tear it down somehow, to destroy it. Because after a few generations, it would be impotent. The black family would be impotent. A few generations of black men not marrying the mother of their children. Black children not growing up with a strong influence in the house. A few generations of that. A few iterations of that. You get what you have now. Now, I know there's a lot of black men who aren't married to their baby mamas that do the best they can. They're busting their ass. Stop telling me about that. I know that exists. But we got to talk about what's happening on the larger scale. That's not the larger scale. And we got to stop getting all butthurt when someone talks in generalizations, because you can't talk about anything unless you can talk about it in generalizations. But this idea that this isn't happening to save people's feelings is ludicrous. So we've got to start talking about the black nuclear family. It is more important than ever. It's more important than ever. Get married, have kids in that order. Not everybody's done that, and some people are doing the best they can, and some people are doing great. I understand. It is not the best way to go. And to be honest, if you talk to a lot of these women especially, they'll tell you it's not the best thing. If you talk to some of these black women, they'll tell you it happened, they dealt with it, but they wouldn't suggest it to anybody else. It's only the white women, the white liberal women, who defend it, because they're so full of guilt about their own crappy lives that they will defend anything that they think black people will agree with them on. It's foolishness. It's insanity. It's crazy. Absolutely insanity. So when we're talking about Black Lives Matter, we have to understand that there's two things going on. There's the phrase, and there's the organization. It's hard to, it's hard to say the phrase is, to go against the phrase, but you can damn sure go against the organization. The organization is a George Soros Marxist organization that does not have the best interests of black people in mind. It does not, by any stretch of the imagination. Are there Black Lives Matter daycares? Are there Black Lives Matter schools? Are there Black Lives Matter clinics and hospitals? Are there Black Lives Matter doctors? Are there Black Lives Matter anything in the community? No. Black Lives Matter show up. They show up when some crap goes down in the hood, and in particularly when an unarmed black person is killed by a white cop. That's the only time you hear from them. Black lives don't matter in Chicago. Black lives don't matter in where was it? In Atlanta. When that little little baby got shot, 8-year-old got killed, and it wasn't from police. Are you serious? Now, I know that on the internet, there's some people out there who are blaming it on, what is it, Operation Boogaloo or some nonsensical, ridiculous strawman like that. No. These are rioters, they are ne'er-do-wells who are causing havoc and corruption and disruption. And one of the victims was this black child. The same thing happened in Seattle at Chaz. This 19-year-old black man was killed inside there, and it's funny, nobody knows a damn thing. The police didn't even talk to his father until they found out that he was going on the Sean Hannity show. The mayor had not gotten a hold of him at all. Nobody had gotten a hold of this poor man to say, we are trying to find out what happened to your son. Some black lives matter. And you know what? And you're right, I'm about to wrap up, but I got to get to black lives don't matter in Planned Parenthood clinics. Black lives are a cash cow. In Planned Parenthood clinics, the most dangerous place to be for a black child is in their mother's uterus in a Planned Parenthood clinic. That is the most dangerous place for a black child to be. Do black lives matter then? No. And you know what? There are people who don't want to talk about that. I mean, there are people who are, I guess, black libertarians who don't want to talk about this because they don't want to get distracted. Well, the fact of the matter is that people are dying. You know how the left always say, you just want people to die. Well, if you go on a Planned Parenthood clinic and you're supporting Planned Parenthood, you just want people to die. Doesn't have anything to do with life could be easier and blah, 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 and poverty and all that crap that Margaret Sanger brought up. It doesn't. Unless you're a eugenist. The fact of the matter is that if you support Planned Parenthood, you just want people to die. That is the bulk of what they do. It's the bulk of what they do. They kill children. They murder them. They chop them into pieces. They suck them out of their mother's uteruses. And unless they can sell some body parts, that's Dr. Mengele stuff, isn't it? They throw them away like so much trash. That's what they do. So if you can support a Planned Parenthood clinic, then you just want people to die. And if you could support a Planned Parenthood clinic in the black neighborhood, you just want black people to die. I got to get out of here. Thank you ever so much for coming by and checking out the the take-home edition of 2020 on July 7th, 2020 in the year. Check out the website. Please check out the website. Fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com, fightbackmedia.com. My friend Paul Swanson has a new website, the SwansonReport.net, the SwansonReport.net, the SwansonReport.net. Check it out as well. We've got clips and YouTube channels from the Red River TV with Kevin and Janelle Batts, and of course the Zoloft with Alfonso Rachel, all on the fightbackmedia.com website. Thank you ever so much. So until we see you again, go out there and learn something, love somebody, and for goodness sakes, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, take care of yourselves. We will see you when we see you. Bye-bye now.